Financial markets closed this Monday and Tuesday as the public holidays. Nigeria's GDP grows year-on-year by 1.87%. Price appreciation sends Nigerian stocks cruising into stronger territory. Welcome to Business Express. We are reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Benny Adams. Non-oil sector slowed into the first quarter of 2020. Data released this morning by the National Bureau of Statistics indicates that 1.87% overall growth recorded in the first quarter of the year is 0.68% lower than the previous quarter. Moplang Dakok has a breakdown of that report.
The first quarter GDP report released by the National Bureau of Statistics this Monday shows that Nigeria's gross domestic product GDP grew by 1.87% year-on-year in real terms. The performance represents a drop of 0.23% compared to the first quarter of 2019 and 0.68% decline compared to the fourth quarter of 2019. The non-oil sector grew by 1.55% in real terms in the quarter, slower by 0.93% when compared to the rate recorded during the same quarter of 2019 and the fourth quarter of 2019. The non-oil sector was driven mainly by information and communication, finance and insurance, agriculture, mining and quarrying, and construction. Crude prices started dropping in the first quarter of this year due to the tension between some of the world's biggest producers and the coronavirus outbreak, and so Nigeria ramped up production to compensate for the fall in income. Oil output rose to 2.07 million barrels from 1.99 million barrels in the first quarter of last year. The oil sector therefore recorded a real growth rate of 5.06% year-on-year in the first quarter of 2020, indicating an increase of 6.51% relative to the same quarter in 2020. Despite global happenings in the quarter under review, aggregate GDP stood at 35.6 million naira in nominal terms, which is a performance higher when compared to the first quarter of 2019, which was 31.8 million naira.
Moving on, Dr. Teve Abraham is an economist and he joins us via Skype to speak to the just released figures. You're welcome to Business Express, Dr. Teve, if you can hear me. Dr. Teve, can you give us a sense of what the numbers translate to regarding the general outlook of the economy?
The numbers translate into a decline in GDP growth for 2020 first quarter. And the drivers, the sectors that were responsible for that decline are air transport, education sector, trade, and manufacturing. These were the factors that influenced the decline that we saw in 2020 first quarter GDP growth. The only sector that served as a driver of growth in this first quarter 2020 was health sector. At that point, the fact that sectors that enjoy increased government spending or support in terms of funding are likely to serve as growth drivers compared to sectors that are not.
Okay, Doctor, do you see the happening to what do you see happening to quarter two figures and the factors that would drive the numbers?
In terms of Q2 figures, the sectors that we look forward to in terms of driving the growth will still remain health sector and in some ways, arts and entertainment, if the necessary support is given. If we also get our policies right, the manufacturing sector is also likely to pick up. In terms of agriculture, we are looking at 4 sectors: crop production, livestock, forestry, and fishing. We expect that crop production will also drive growth in the second quarter, but there needs to be a lot of effort to support the livestock production sectors. But basically, increased funding to agriculture, education, and health will really be important to sustain or to revive growth or to push growth further in the second quarter of 2020.
Okay, what will you suggest would be the key steps to making the economy work profitably?
The key steps in terms of making the economy working profitably will be sustaining the gradual reopening of the economy while taking seriously the necessary advice that is being dished out by the WHO and the NCDC towards avoiding another round of COVID-19 spread. So a gradual reopening of the economy will really be important to sustain growth or to keep the economy going to some level in the 2020 second quarter. Then secondly, we have to look inwards in supporting domestic production, domestic economic activity, looking at helping the chambers of commerce, local manufacturers, indigenous businesses support agriculture production, smallholder farmers, and also support our own domestic manufacturing, including pharmaceuticals and medical supplies.
Okay, Dr. Abraham, thank you very much for your contribution.
Thanks very much.
This is Business Express reaching you from Abuja. The program continues after this break.
Let me assure Nigerians that all COVID-19 intervention funds are safe in the Treasury single account, and that government is still open to donations in this regard. Government has opened special accounts with 5 commercial banks which are directly linked to the Treasury single account. Donated funds are safe in the Central Bank of Nigeria. For verifiable information about the funds and other financial obligations of the federal government, please contact us directly at the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning. The account details for the donations are as follows.
While some are groaning under the coronavirus burden, others are thankful the occasion has brought them benefits. There is no substitute for water, so its relevance is timeless. Let's join Bosede Abel on surviving COVID-19.
For a good number of people around the world, a lockdown was never what they envisaged. But then, coronavirus happened and started a chain reaction that would alter the global way of life. Lugbe, a suburb in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, is one of those places where water is gold. With more people at home, the demand for water has increased significantly. 28-year-old Aminu Abubakar is a water vendor known in local parlance as Mairua. At daybreak, with his face masks on, Aminu is set to take delivery to his customers that now have high demands.
Some people used buy 1 truck, 2 truck, but now something like they buy like 7, 8 truck now because of the restriction of the water and the lockdown.
It's 20 naira per jerrycan, 3 times in a week.
There's been my customer even before the COVID-19.
Around there, you can see 500, 700.
For the likes of Aminu and Mohammed, business has never been this good.
One week after Flair Air violated COVID-19 commercial flights, banned rules and flew passengers into Nigeria during lockdown, the federal government has fined Flair Jet Aviation Company 1 million naira. Minister of Aviation Hadi Sirika, in a statement on Sunday, said the fine was the maximum penalty provided for in the country's civil aviation regulations. The federal government had banned international and local flights in the country as part of the efforts to control the COVID-19 outbreak and only allowed essential and emergency flights to operate in the airports. According to Sirika, Flairjet had applied and received approval from the Ministry of Aviation to carry out humanitarian operations. Rabo Saleh is the president, Federation of Tourism Associations of Nigeria. He joins us now to look at COVID-19 and tourism in Nigeria. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay. No doubt COVID-19 has affected every aspect of human life. Every aspect of our economy is not affected, which is to say the tourism sector is not left out of it. What is the impact it has made on the tourism sector?
Thank you very much. I think the impact of COVID-19 on the tourism sector is very devastating because the tourism sector is one of the sectors that is worst hit by the pandemic. If you look at it, there's a total shutdown on all tourism activities from our airports, local flights, international flights, coming to our hotels, our resorts, our tourism sites. Everywhere is completely shut down. It shows you that the economy has been, badly hit by the COVID-19, and as such, the tourism industry is at level 0.
Okay, talking about level 0, how is it affecting the jobs and income generally?
Yeah, being at level 0, it means people are not going to the office. I can show you now that for the past almost 3 months now, people have been at home. That means they cannot go to their offices to do their normal jobs. That means employment is completely affected. Revenue also is completely affected because when you don't do business, there won't be any income. And if there is no income, that means you don't have any revenue to be able to use to carry on your businesses.
Okay, now with the situation as bad as it is, what options do the industry have as we're having ease in gradual lockdown being eased off? What can the sector do to bounce back?
Well, it is glad, it's good that the economy is trying to open up because we can't continue to lock down forever. For us to be able to make some inroad into the relaxing of the economy, it means we have to think differently. We have to think out of the box and we have to think inwards. How do we survive post-COVID-19?
Okay, talking about surviving post-COVID-19, just looking at the first quarter GDP figures just released by the National Bureau of Statistics this morning, how will you rate the performance of the tourism sector during this period?
Well, like we all know, the performance has been very bad because there hasn't been any activity. As a result of the COVID-19, everything has been grounded. Conferences, shows, everything stopped. Therefore, we can say that the tourism business has been completely hit and badly affected, and there hasn't been any activity in that sector.
Okay, talking about the figures now. For instance, in America, you hear 1.9 million Americans visited tourist sites or engaged in tourism in the year, and they're talking about 2019. And they will tell you that the figures now of 2019 in America, they've raked in like $2.9 trillion to the American economy. Can we have such figures? Do you have such figures in Nigeria?
Well, unfortunately, we don't have such figures in Nigeria because our Bureau of Statistics have not been working with the relevant agencies. For you to be able to get these figures, you have to look at these figures from arrivals. That's from the immigration. You get the arrivals, and then you go to the hotels and see the occupancies in the hotels, and then the revenue generated also from people eating food in hotels, restaurants, and visitation to tourist sites also, which also in Nigeria we don't have very good figures for that. But we in EFTA and the Federation of Tourism Association of Nigeria have been trying to put something together, have been trying to work together with the federal government to see that we come up with these figures. Because without these figures, we cannot be able to plan. We cannot be able to even see what is the contribution of the tourism industry to the GDP of the country. Although, like the last time we had it, the DG Bureau for MBS stated that tourism contributes about 34% to the Nigerian GDP.
34.
And 20% of employment generated in the country is also from the tourism and hospitality industry. So you can see that there's a huge, support to the GDP of Nigeria via the hospitality and tourism industry, which calls for the need for the industry to be supported so that it can be able to sustain the economy in terms of, the situation we have found ourselves today.
Okay, talking about supporting this sector, we just had the Minister of Information and Culture roll out some kind of intervention in the entertainment industry, and I believe the entertainment industry, a creative industry as it were, is also part of the tourism industry. Are you aware of that? How are you keying into it?
Well, I am a member of that committee of the creative industry created by the minister, which we in the tourism sector have been saying that it shouldn't have been a creative industry committee. It should have been a tourism and hospitality committee, because that is the umbrella body. Creative industry, the musicians, the artists, the craft sellers, all these people who contribute to the tourism industry are subsector of the tourism industry. Therefore, they are supposed to come under the tourism industry, not the tourism industry to come under them. And I think that is something that needs to be corrected, because it is only in Nigeria that I see this kind of situation. So for us to be able to get it right, we need to, place round pegs in round holes, not round pegs in square holes. If we do it like that, we can't get it right.
Okay, looking at this intervention and where the tourism sector is today, talking about being badly hit, what next?
Well, the next thing we need to do, like I said earlier on, is to think out of the box. And then to also begin to think, how do we move forward? And the way to move forward is to start thinking of developing domestic tourism. How do we keep our sites in place, organize our tourism sites, put them functional so that people within Nigeria can begin to visit them instead of, since we cannot travel outside Nigeria today. Then we need to look inwards and begin to develop our resources, our resorts. And one of the things that we need to do, that government need to do for us to be able to get it right, is to provide security. Without security, you cannot be able to have a functional tourism industry.
Okay.
We need to have safety. We need to develop, even the infrastructure. We need to have good roads. We need to have good transportation systems so that people can be able to move freely and enjoying, what we have in Nigeria. Nigeria is blessed. We have abundant natural resources. Our culture from the south to the west to the east is so great that if we develop that, it's going to go a long way in even bringing harmony and unity amongst Nigerians.
Well, thank you very much, Rabo Saleh, President, Federation of Tourism Associations of Nigeria. It's been nice having you to share your thoughts with us. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much for having me. And we hope tourism will be able to give in its rightful place.
It will.
Yeah.
Okay, the Nigerian stocks sustained weekly rally in the week ended Friday, the 22nd of May 2020. Amina Nujaim has that weekly performance report.
The NSE market report for the week ended 22nd May 2020 revealed that a total turnover of 1.718 billion shares worth 18.849 billion naira were traded in 26,367 deals. The NSE OSHA index appreciated by 5.59% to close the week at 25,204.75 basis points, while market capitalization stood at 13.136 trillion naira. Now, all other indices finished higher, with the exception of NSE ASAM, which closed flat. The financial services industry led the activity chart with 1.273 billion shares, valued at 11.362 billion naira, traded in 13,808 deals, contributing 74.08% and 60.28% to the total equity turnover volume and value. The industrial goods industry followed with 102.377 million shares, worth 3.194 billion naira, traded in 2,956 deals. The third place was the healthcare industry with a turnover of 99.620 million shares, worth 493.348 million in 1,194 deals. Meanwhile, trading in the top three equities, namely Zenith Bank PLC, Access Bank and FBN Holding PLC, accounted for 673.104 million shares valued at 6.8 billion naira in 5,927 deals. A total of 7,251 units of exchange-traded products valued at 42.007 million naira were traded last week in 15 deals. Similarly, a total of 12,809 units of bonds valued at 13.170 million naira were traded last week in 18 deals. And a summary of the price movement chart indicates that 55 equities appreciated in price, 8 equities depreciated in price, while 100 equities remained unchanged. That's the stock market report.
Thank you very much, Amina. Global stocks are putting up a good fight against the coronavirus pandemic as global policymakers continue to put in place economic stimulus. A good number of markets are on holiday this Monday. Let's see a graphic representation of the markets. Let's take a trip to the currency markets to see how the Naira is faring alongside other major currencies. With that, we come to the end of this edition of Business Express. We value your feedback, so keep the comments, observations, and suggestions coming. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. You can also communicate with us on Twitter, and the handle is NTA News Now. Don't forget to use the hashtag #BizX. Remember to intermittently wash your hands with soap under running water as the world battles COVID-19. Be safe out there. Business Express returns Wednesday. I am Benny Adams.